Hello. Today is um shit. Today is Wednesday, November 13th, 2024, and you're listening to the Biased Media Company podcast. I really should record these before we do anything else. Today we'll be talking about what we think the Democratic Party needs to do to adapt and survive the coming next few election cycles, and also we'll be covering the recent flurry of Trump appointments to his cabinet. Joining me today is, as usual, Slade, who I'm saying first this time because I remember it being a whole thing, and Emma. So I want to hear what you guys think the Democratic Party needs to do in order to survive this second non-consecutive Trump term.
Well, I
Um,
think I think there are a
Apple.
lot of things they need to do.
Give
Um,
me a list. Give me off the top of your head five good things that need to
five good
happen.
things.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Okay,
lit.
my first thing would be skew more liberal, work on like socialized medicine, universal basic income, things like that. Like go towards what polls have shown that the American people support overwhelmingly. Um, be more aggressive. I think we can't do the whole like we're going to take the high road. They take the low road, we take the high road. No, no, that hasn't worked for us. It's not going to work. We have to go after that. Um, Slade, do you have three more?
Well, I'd like them to be as obstructionist as possible these next few years. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot they're not going to be able to do as far as like slashing basically every budget, which is pretty much entirely in the hands of the executive.
Right.
But it's going to be a slim majority in the House. Um, and I think there's definitely room to block some of the worst things that can be done. Especially with some of these cabinet picks that Trump has been floating. A lot of them come from the House of Congress,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
which is
think
going to
this
trigger
is
special elections and could hinder progress. Like,
it's
there's some
certainly
electoral
an
math here
unusual.
that is not particularly strategic.
Right, it is particularly odd that so many of his appointments are people. I think it's because Donald Trump doesn't know anybody else. He just knows the people who were kissing his ass for 4 years while he
And
was
that's
in
all he
office.
wants with him. He just
That's
wants
all he
people who are
wants.
going to continue to kiss his ass and not question him.
Maybe even
Yeah,
give it a
I mean, this
little,
has been the strategy, and like we're kind of getting into the cabinet picks, but like the whole point of this was to fill our entire bureaucracy with Trump sycophants. And turns out
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot fewer of them than he would like, and they're also incompetent. Like, these are not going to be
like
good leaders.
this is like his little team that he's assembled is probably the worst people you could find. I think it's like these are if politics were a true spectator sport, like I'm gonna lose this metaphor because I'm thinking like dodgeball when you would go and you would pick which kids you wanted on your team, right? And like Matt Gaetz is not anybody's first pick or anything. That forehead alone is gonna catch more balls than anything else. But
That
and
makes me worry
also
a little bit less just how incredibly incompetent they are.
right, I think that's done a lot to like sedate my worst fears of things is the fact that it's like, oh, these guys, like it's I mean, like I think it's
Yeah.
important that we don't underestimate them because that's a
Mm-hmm.
fatal error to make. But at the same time, it's these fucking guys. And they're
Yeah,
the dumbest people you could find. Like
it's
they're
media
all
figures.
it's media
Yeah.
figures. It's the people going. In some cases, it's literally the guy on Fox News.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
which I mean, I get. I mean, we will get into that in a little bit. I think Emma, what struck me interesting is when you said that the Democratic Party should be more liberal. Do you mean like because we're all like politically literate more
Mhm.
so than your average person. Do you mean like liberal in the classical sense, or are you talking liberal in the blanket term that most your average voter would understand liberal to mean?
Kind of the way I see it is like more left leaning. Like we need to get into more democratic socialism, in my opinion. I think increasing education, and I've said this for years, is the number one thing we need to do. Because when we increase education, when we increase funding and education, we can have these conversations and people know what they're talking about. Like people can actually have these conversations. Um, like with a lot of left leaning policies, people hate them because they hate the terms. Like take Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act. Affordable Care Act polls significantly higher than Obamacare. They're the same thing.
Yeah, I
And
saw a
Yeah.
lot of takes on Twitter about like, we should keep the Affordable Care Act to get rid of this liberal Obamacare crap. It's like, oh my
yes.
god.
And if we
Um,
and Republicans have been cutting education for decades because this is what they
yeah,
want. They want stupid followers who are just going to hear what they say. They want to listen, people who are going to listen to fear mongering, things like that. I want an educated public. I don't care if you disagree with me. I think it's healthy to disagree with people, but I cannot have these conversations with people who don't know what they're talking about. It's nothing's going to work, nothing's going to be fixed if people don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, and I
yeah.
think
I mean, I also
that's the reason why that's the reason why Donald Trump wants to get rid of the Department of Education.
Exactly.
Donald Trump loves the uneducated, and in fact, actually, the literacy stats for the United States came out from like the Literacy Research Center in the last few days, and things are looking pretty grim.
Mhm.
Just going to read some of these off to you guys. On average, 79% of U.S. adults nationwide are literate in 2024. So that means we have a 21% or 70, we have a 21% of the country is not literate, is illiterate. 54% of adults have a literacy level below a sixth grade level. 20%
And
are
the
below a fifth grade level. Low levels of
that's so
literacy
sick.
cost the United States up to $2.2 trillion per year. 34% of adults lacking literacy proficiency were born outside the United States. So it's not like it's a domestic issue.
Mhm.
Yeah, and to be fair to Trump, this has been a long time Republican project. It's not just him. I don't even think that's really something
Yeah.
he cares that much about. I mean, they just
No.
don't want public
I think it's just
education. They
something
would
he's following
love for
along with.
private schools. Yeah, like they just want private schools to be um, how we get educated so that people can profit off of
Yeah.
it. And it excludes people that are poor and are geographically isolated from some of these things. Like,
Mhm.
this has been a long
And
time coming.
that's why I have a hard time I'm not mad at people for not being educated. Like, in certain circumstances, yes, it's your fault you're not educated, but in most circumstances, it's the fault of the government. There's not enough funding in public education. There aren't enough reasonably accessible resources for everyone to have. And that's what makes these conversations so incredibly difficult is you're on different playing fields. Like there are some people who by no fault of their own are just not able to have that education. We're not given the opportunity for that education. And so they vote against their own interests because they don't know any better. And it's so frustrating because you can't really be mad at them. You have to be mad at the people who created those circumstances.
Yeah, it's also broadly like a communications problem, I think,
Mm-hmm.
because you can't expect that everyone's just going to devote as much time to politics as we do. For a few of us,
What?
it's how we
What?
make our living.
What are you
Like
talking
it's not
about?
as if we're just doing this all on our own. Not from this, but from our own, our
Right,
real life
right.
jobs.
Yeah, we aren't making
Um,
any money off of this, guys.
right.
That was my weekly panhandling. banging the pot, like, even though there is no way to give us money. Like, we've not set that up. I will not go through the trouble of doing that.
That's valid.
I would just like to complain about being poor. That was my choice for getting a useless degree at a useless institution. Shout out to avoid that place like the plague.
Well, I want to kind of move this conversation towards the broader topic of, like, I don't know, like, kind of what we were talking about last week. Like, what the hell happened? How do we just get swept like this?
I think again, we need to, like, here's what I think the Democratic Party needs to do. I'll give you 5 right now. Or less. I don't know. I'm not literate. I can't count. Honestly, everybody that was involved in running campaigns for the last 8 years needs to be gone.
Yeah.
Needs to be hands off. No more making decisions for those people. Take the keys away from the people who have been running campaigns since, Bill Clinton. Because it's not working. Their strategies aren't working. They're bad at their jobs. They haven't adapted with the times. Anybody who decided to bring out Liz Cheney and have her stump with Kamala Harris and fire them. Anybody who told
Michigan
Tim Walz especially, oh my god, anybody who told Tim Walz to lay off with the Republicans are weird line of attack.
Literally, that was so great.
It was.
He was also the only person in this entire, like, nomination that had a positive net favorability.
Right.
Yeah.
I hope that this is not the last we've seen of Tim Walz. I will say that much. But,
I agree.
I mean, he'll still be governor, but I don't know if we'll see him at the national stage again, honestly.
I mean, like, because I'm seeing people float people like John Fetterman, and it's like, are you kidding me?
He would be good if he didn't have a stroke and then started hating Palestine.
Yeah. And it's not like an ableist thing. That was just, we saw him shift to the right after having a stroke, which is funny that's like a common thing that happens after a person suffers a stroke, is that they shift rightward. That's like a medical phenomenon. And I mean, I won't say anything because obviously suffering a stroke is a horrible, horrible thing. But it's clear that, that there were effects of that. And John Fetterman seems like a bad idea. Shapiro in Pennsylvania, I don't want to see him. In all likelihood, it's probably going to be like, Gavin Newsom or whatever his name is, in the guy that kept texting me all election season. In all honesty, it's probably going to be him. That as we veered more towards then. But I
mean,
think,
the way things shake out is gonna, like, it's anyone's guess at this point.
Right.
I kind of want to. I kind of want to go over some of the post-election diagnoses that I've seen, at least, and I want to bring up my 2 favorite takes on why we lost. My first one is the Republicans stole the election.
Yeah, that's my favorite one too. I like that one.
Liberal Blue Anon is going wild right now.
I know. I hope they do a January 6th. That would be so funny.
It'd be funny if it was just like 6 of them, but they like just pretended that they're just fighting with the will of the country behind them.
It's like, I do not support this. I'm not with you, but in spirit, kinda. Like, go get them. Go get them. Go get it, girl. Get that.
They have to physically fight Nancy Pelosi.
The more I see about that, the more it's...
Yeah, it's getting pretty... It's a lot of cope. It's a lot of cope. The election was not stolen, by the way, guys. Like, to anyone listening, I'm sorry. Gut punch. It's not real. We
do not storm the Capitol. Do not storm the Capitol. I'm telling you, begging you, pleading you. And if you... I'm not even going to finish that sentence, actually. That's going to go nowhere except a call from the Secret Service. Oh, well,
so my second favorite take is we actually did steal the election in 2020 and forgot to do it this time. Turns out they were right. The country has wanted Trump this whole time.
I like that too, actually. I like that. I like to imagine that Joe Biden was like a very sleazy deep state political operator, and he slept this one out. He forgot. He
Forgot.
Joe Biden forgore.
That's why he wanted to
break
stay
the,
in,
like,
because he knew
that's
that
why
they
he
could
was-
steal it for him.
That's right. He was locked in. His agents of chaos around the country were only going to answer the call from old Grandpa Joe. And that call was, what? Where am I? What am I doing here? Who are you?
I do want to say, I have this opinion, and it's not super relevant, but kind of is. Fuck Joe Biden for staying in as long as he did. Like, that
yeah.
pisses me off.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
probably the biggest villain amongst all of this, and is going to go down in history as a pretty terrible president.
I've had these conversations with people who are in the center more, and they're like, well, he did a good thing by stepping down. No other president has done that. And I'm like, that should be the fucking standard.
That's actually not true. Lyndon B. Johnson stepped down and saw that way. So like it has been done before, and it's clear that Joe Biden, there was, I don't know if this was something leaked from Pelosi's office specifically, where Biden, waited to drop out. They had polling that showed, Donald Trump winning 300 plus electoral votes. He stayed in anyway for months. He finally drops out, and then he endorsed terrorists specifically to bypass the planned mini primary before the convention.
Yeah, which at the time, like, I wasn't too opposed to Kamala Harris being the nominee, just because it seemed like this would be kind of a mess. But I mean, it seems like the other Democratic leadership felt like they could pull it off.
Yeah, and it looks like that's what they wanted.
Bypassed them.
Right, and then Biden took a shit on the Resolute desk, and everybody else had to pretend that was the plan all along. My God, what a guy! Yep. Anyway, so now we got 4 years of Trump. I do think it's funny that the greatest villain in this story about a fascist wannabe dictator is the liberal who let it happen. I mean,
it's kind of poetic. Like,
hey,
genuinely though, like watching, like when we were trying to,
may not repeat, but it does rhyme.
But like when we were trying to figure out, like, when we were trying to get Biden to step down, like, it literally felt like we were watching the corpse of neoliberalism, like, just in complete denial of this, like, fascist takeover while it is storming the country.
Yeah, and now that it happened, they're trying to blame the left, because of course they are, because they would never take responsibility for their own actions.
Yeah, so that's probably the worst election takes. I gave my two favorite already.
Have the Democrats, I don't believe they have, but I'm curious if you guys know, have the Democrats called Trump a fascist?
Yeah, I mean, Kamala Harris did at the end of her campaign trail.
Okay.
After Republicans did it.
The problem is I don't think the average voter understands what a fascist is.
Literally, look up what fascist is. If you don't know, look it up.
There's some great reading there if you want to, and I would tell you, actually, I read like the founding document of fascism last year for something. The Benito Mussolini's Doctrine of Fascism. Worst thing I ever read. Oh my God, it was like less than 10 pages, and it was the most, like, it was basically just like some grind set TikToker type manifesto, and it was bad, and it was like, this is the most illogical, like, I wouldn't even call it can you call it a political philosophy if it's less than 14 pages long? I don't think so, and I can't believe it's almost dominated the world several times. I cannot believe it. It has caused me to lose a little bit of faith in humanity, not to say that I had a whole lot of it to begin with, but here we are.
Yeah, I think the worst takes have been that Kamala Harris went too far to the left. I heard there's some like a couple like it's a real like take that they're trying to push.
No, right, I know, because I've heard
seen it like multiple times on CNN, MSNBC.
That's insane.
They're like, a lot of them are like Harris, like campaign strategists too. So I mean, I
The
like
amount they were
whose
cozying
fault
up,
is this right now?
yeah, the amount they were cozying up to far right Republicans was disgusting, and the fact that you can call that being too liberal ridiculous.
Yeah,
Being too
yeah.
left
I
is
mean,
no, not even a little bit.
yeah. I mean, they're saying that it was like because of trans people, which wasn't brought up a
Bruh.
single time
Wow,
on the
yeah.
Harris side of the campaign trail.
Oh.
No,
Like
it's
when to
it's
take a
like mind
shot at a
numbing.
marginalized group for no good reason but to blame somebody else. Because I mean, like the
Mhm.
Democrats have been blaming Latino voters, black voters, every other people, but like obviously it was white people who did this. It always
Mhm.
is.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. You don't have to be, listen, I've been watching you guys my whole life fuck things up, okay? Like that's not like between
Valid.
you and me. My ancestors tell stories of how you guys arrived here starving and freezing, and we gave you food and clothing, and you killed us. Like you guys have been fucking it up big time the entire time you've been on this continent. It was funny because I had this conversation with my mom, and I was like, Mom, the people that came over here were like crazy people. Like Europe wasn't sending their best; they were sending religious fanatics.
No,
They were sending
they were saying the people that were too religiously extreme for them.
right. I was like,
Literally.
those are the type of people that came over here and settled on this continent and started murdering my ancestors for no good reason. It's not really a big stretch to imagine that this is where we're at right now when you think that those are the people they're descended from.
Ooh.
No offense, guys, but
No, none
it's
taken.
Native
You're right.
American Heritage Month. It's November. I get to do this. I get to be racist against the white people. It's in my heart of hearts is what I believe in. One month during the year, I get to do it. Okay, so you just have to bear with me during the month of November. It's my month, damn it.
Deal.
Anyway, so does anybody have anything else about what the Democrats need to do so much of what they're not
They
doing.
need to
They
do a
just stop
lot.
everything. You know what they need to do? Here's the
Um,
one thing they need to do before we move on to our next topic. They should hire us, and we should be in charge of the messaging from here on out. And we'll immediately shift right to the left with workers' rights, unionizing, all of that stuff. We're doing it all. That's how we
yeah,
win back.
protecting
That's how we win
Medicare,
back these
protecting
elections.
Medicaid. Like this, they should have moved beyond like bread and butter shit.
Mhm.
Right.
I think one of the things that I saw, there's been a lot of discourse about creating the liberal Joe Rogan. And I don't know, one of the best responses I think I saw to this was that like they should instead focus on why they lost Joe Rogan in the first place.
Mhm.
Because he's the guy that endorsed Bernie Sanders in 2016 and in 2020. And I feel like the last week has kind of centered Joe Rogan as like the median voter, which like
Mhm.
maybe he is. And but I mean the populist stuff appealed to him and he appealed to the audience. Like
Mhm.
there are actual concrete things that we can do to improve people's lives, and we moved away from it. And
Yeah.
when we move away from that messaging, then it leaves the whole floor open for Donald Trump to come in and say that it's because immigrants are invading that your
Mhm.
life is so bad.
Yeah. Also, if you're one
Yeah.
of those people who are like, understandably you're upset about how things went, do not like, even if it like the thing that I keep seeing is it's people who are like, oh, my neighbor is undocumented or his parents are undocumented and he voted for Trump. Don't report people. Don't like take part in
Yes,
reporting people
please.
to ICE to deport them, okay? Like don't I cannot emphasize enough how brain dead of a decision that would be to be like, oh, let's give the fascists what they want. I'm going to help the fascists do their job. Like, don't do that. That kind of runs in
That's
the face of
gross.
everything. I know it is gross, but that's what a lot of people have been the sentiment a lot of people have been expressing. Does anybody else have anything else before we move on to our next topic?
Um,
Go ahead, Slade.
I was just gonna like reiterate the importance of a story to tell. Like I think the messaging was better on the Trump side, even those guys are raving lunatic.
Mhm.
But he had this reason why people's lives are bad. He said, like, "Hey, I hear that things are expensive. You're worried about the future. It's because of all these undocumented people."
Mhm.
That's obviously not true, but there's that he's seeing people and citing a reason for it, and that draws people in. And to counter that, like, you need to have an alternative story to tell. And you can't just say that the economy is good and you're stupid for not realizing it.
Mhm.
I mean, Bernie Sanders has had this down to a T for the last 10 years. This guy's on message all the time.
Yeah.
Listen, all I'm gonna say there is that if it had been Bernie in 2016, we wouldn't be having any of these conversations right now. I
Mhm.
firmly believe that. The Republicans would be having these conversations again about what they need to do differently, not us.
Yep. They'd be like, "Do we need to shift to the left?"
Oh my God, could you imagine? Never gonna happen. Are you kidding me?
The Democrats keep abandoning the people who are gonna save them.
Yeah, it's their base. They want to have the Republican constituency. Like,
Mhm.
honestly, I feel like in retrospect, looking at this campaign, and it should have been obvious at the time, like, I don't know, like, it kind of feels like they wanted to win on their own terms.
Yeah.
Like, they wanted to win without any kind of populist movement. They wanted to win without acknowledging pro-Palestine people.
Mhm.
Like, they wanted to court suburban Republicans. And I think that's pretty scary for the party that's supposed to be, the one that's closer to having actual policies that help people. Like,
Yeah, I think the Democratic Party puts way too much emphasis on agreeing with people and meeting in the middle. And when you're talking with about fascists, there's no meeting in the middle. Like, we're not doing that. I'm not going towards that because you're a fucking fascist. Like, I
yeah,
I just don't understand that.
it doesn't even have to be about fascism. Like, Donald Trump is the biggest shit talker in the world.
Mhm.
Like, we should be slinging shit at him too. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy that the weird line was cited as too negative, and that was the peak of the campaign. People were excited about this stuff.
Yeah, and you saw
And I think
Trump's
they could have
reaction
gone.
to the weird line.
Yeah, I think they could have gone.
He
Yeah, it put
immediately
him.
distanced himself from Vance.
Yeah, from JD Vance. Yeah, his immediate response to that was, "They're not saying that I'm weird. They're saying that my vice president is weird."
Literally.
Like, this guy is not a good politician.
No.
He's not a good at anything.
It's pretty infuriating. They also had did you guys see the video of Joe Biden welcoming Donald Trump into the White House?
Yeah.
He has this big old grin on his face.
But welcome back, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm glad that the Trump Biden romance gets a resurgence before the end. I'm glad that that's the plot twist we desperately needed. I was expecting them to lovingly make out. Right in the Oval Office.
You guys think that Biden's happy that Trump won?
I don't know if Biden
genuinely,
knows
I think he
what's
might be.
on.
I think he's kind of happy that Kamala Harris didn't win.
I feel like he's vindicated. He feels like he's vindicated. He's like, oh, see, I could have stayed in, and now he's gonna be like, I'm gonna run in 2028.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's the type of listen. My
is really
opinion of Joe Biden was
81 years old.
I know. My
opinion
wanted
to
of Joe
run
Biden
for
was
president
not
again.
right, because that's what he's been doing his whole life. He's ran for president more than anybody else in the two major political parties ever. He spent more time campaigning for president than anybody else, which is insane. I looked that up. That was from a Washington Post article in 2023. So that has only become more true. I can hear Emma furiously typing.
Listen.
Fact check.
I couldn't read the article though because I'm not paying the Washington Post. I'm not giving Jeff Bezos my
Oh, I can't stand
money.
when you have to pay for articles.
Oh, democracy dies in darkness. Well, I'm gonna die of not being able to afford eggs. So I'm gonna vote for a fascist. Um, oh my god, I think the fact that the effects of this are gonna be immediate and horrific. They're already happening. There's already
Yeah.
companies are already reacting to the prophesized Trump tariffs, and it's bad, and people are
Mm-hmm.
like, I was like earlier this week, I shared an image that was like a picture of Google Trends a few days ago, and it was like, how can I change my vote? Was the most Googled question of
Yeah.
that day,
What is a
and it's just,
tariff also
what is a
spiked right after
tariff?
the election.
Yeah, people are finding out, and you're seeing a bunch of people who are, like, oh my god, I work for this company, and we're not getting our bonuses, or we're not,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, what did you think was gonna happen? Oh, that's right, you didn't know what a
Literally.
tariff was. That's
Yeah.
okay, I
It's pretty
guess.
absurd. You guys think he's actually gonna do that?
Yeah,
The
because that's
tariff
like
stuff?
his one thing. Yeah, that's his one thing, and he has like
I think he's gonna
unilateral.
try.
He
Yeah,
has
but
it's
like
his.
it's gonna be so bad for him politically too. And
But
like the people
I don't
around
think
him know it,
he
and they're
cares.
also not gonna be a fan of it. Like
He's either not gonna be able to run again or not give up the office. So I don't think he cares.
Yeah,
yeah, but
he
he
literally
wants
like
to be loved. He just wants people to like
But now that
uh
he has the power, it doesn't matter.
right, but he's just gonna blame it on Joe Biden. Like, oh, the economy was so bad.
Exactly.
This is
He gave
just
us a bad economy.
he gave me the worst economy because he was saying that about Obama when he bungled COVID response and the
Mm-hmm.
economy crashed. He's like, I
Yeah.
inherited the worst economy. Like, shut up, dude. No, you didn't. You're a bad businessman. You bankrupted a casino. How hard is that to do? They're literally rigged against the people playing.
the house is supposed to always win.
Right,
And
right.
he found a
And
way
he
to make that
forgot.
not be the
He
case.
forgot. The one man in history to figure out how to
How
have
the house can lose.
But yeah, so speaking of the lunacy of this administration, let's get to our final topic for the night. The Trump cabinet appointees. Now,
Oh
Slade,
yes.
by how I understand it, you have a list. So why don't we give us the list, and we'll go one by one through them just to kind of like give everybody a sense of what we think.
All right, we'll have I don't know, some kind of like imagine like a Smash Bros reveal
That's all
for
right.
for this or something.
New
We got
challenger. Isn't that what they say?
yeah,
Isn't that,
like when you
yeah.
get them, it's like yeah.
Then the
So
alarm blares.
we got
Hang on,
Pete
do I have
Hegseth, the host of Fox and Friends, as Secretary of Defense. All right.
This is hang on.
Wait.
That's like kind of getting the guy that you knew play a shit ton of Total War in high school to run the
Yeah.
country's military. That's the same energy.
We got Matt Gaetz for Attorney General, most notable for his 2 years of law experience and also being under investigation by the House Ethics Committee for child trafficking? Question mark. Having sex with 17-year-old girls and trafficking them across state lines,
Which is a felony. If you weren't aware, Matt Gaetz wasn't, and he's a lawyer. So now he's going to be Attorney General. Well, I mean, he's going to try.
Maybe.
With less experience as an attorney than most law firm associates.
Right. Well, listen, his general doesn't have any experience as a general because he was a major, and his attorney doesn't have any experience as an attorney because he's a dickhead. Anyway,
all right,
go on.
Kristi Noem, hardcore MAGA South Dakota governor.
All right,
banned from all 9 Native American reservations in South Dakota.
That's my thing to talk about.
For Secretary of Department of Homeland Security.
So her whole deal is that she has been trying to blame the problems of Oklahoma on the tribes and insinuating that they're the result of all, like they're to blame for all of the violent crime that is coming over the border and stuff like that she talks about. And I mean, like, I guess it makes sense to put somebody in charge of keeping people out of the country when she's not welcome in so many different little countries. You got to remember, tribal reservations are technically sovereign states. They're dependent sovereign states. That's the official term. Yeah, so she's banned from all of the reservations in Oklahoma, and a few of the others just for fun elsewhere. Indian country does not like her. She's terrible. She's an idiot. Yeah, she's just. Listen, it takes like a lot to get banned from a reservation. Like it's a very tough thing to do sometimes. Let me tell you, I know some people.
Yep, and all 9 of them too.
And
in
all
South
9 of them in
Dakota.
Oklahoma. They're South Dakota. I said Oklahoma again. I'm losing it, folks. I'm losing
He's
my.
drunk. Don't worry about it, guys.
It's the.
All right,
You say
notable.
drunk. That feels a little racist.
No, drunk as in drunk the way a white
Oh.
person would be.
Oh, okay. That makes it okay.
Notable Russian asset Tulsi Gabbard for Director of National Intelligence.
That's right, baby. We lost the Cold War 30 years later.
That's right. Massive comeback from the USSR.
That's right. The Soviet Union comes in at the 276th quarter. Nobody knew the game was still going. Vladimir Putin scoring a win here. Lost the
Joseph
Cold War.
Stalin is rising from the dead. His ears have perked up.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's a. Yeah, no, that I feel like that's the funniest way to put it. Is just that we just lost the Cold War with that one. Our intelligence apparatus, which once we used to do coups in Latin America. We used to destabilize entire countries and come back home for lunch and plan a way to kill Castro. And now we're the highest level that is going to be infiltrated by a Russian stooge.
Yeah, where's Kissinger, man?
I
Where'd
know,
he
right?
go?
Kissinger dies and it all falls apart.
It all falls apart.
He was the only thing. He carried us. Listen, he carried us our last during the Cold War. Hate the man all you want. I certainly do, and I hope that Anthony Bourdain, wherever he is beating the shit out of Henry Kissinger. That was like a famous quote of his, that if you had ever gone to Laos, immediately the first thing you're gonna want to do is beat the shit out of Henry Kissinger.
Yeah, this guy sacrificed millions of lives in the Middle East and Asia to prevent this from happening, and it still didn't work.
It's still he croaks, and a couple of years later, Donald Trump
It's
is
over.
like, I'm going to appoint a Russian agent to run the national intelligence apparatus. My God, you literally could not write this. This is like the world's worst James Bond fanfic.
This feels like a comedy sketch.
It really does.
Yeah,
Like Tulsi's
it
gonna
is.
show up with a thick Russian accent at her confirmation hearing.
She's gonna be late to everything because she's running on the wrong time zones.
That's right. Actually, she'll be early because she'll be Russian everywhere.
Early. Okay.
Bad. It was so bad.
Okay, John.
I hated that.
All right, now are we ready for another pick? Do we have any more in us?
No,
Yes.
but we don't have an option.
All right, Palestinian denier Mike Huckabee for Israeli ambassador. Quoted as saying that Palestine does not exist, nor do there's no such thing as a Palestinian. And that's going to be our ambassador to Israel.
That's That's all I have to say.
Yep. Yeah. I got nothing.
Father of another notable horrible person, Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
It is funny though that the guy he did run against Donald Trump in 2016, and then he immediately immediately got trounced in Iowa and dropped out.
Yeah, he was an early dropper. We have failed gubernatorial candidate Lee Zeldin.
That's one of
to
my
head the
favorite words in
EPA.
the world.
Yep. Also a climate denier and believer that the EPA has gotten in the way of too much business.
So naturally, he's gonna run it.
Yeah. On a serious note here, the environment's fucked.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I think we've kind of just lost on that front.
I mean, we're not
Yeah.
coming back from it. Like, that's not going to happen. Maybe in the future we can stop it from accelerating as quickly as it is, or stop it from accelerating more quickly, but it's not going back. Like, that's not happening.
Yeah, I mean, Kamala Harris loves fracking too, so.
Yeah, like, and you can see, we're currently seeing all of the product of not protecting the environment, all of these natural disasters increasing, global warming. Like, every season is the hottest or the coldest in history,
Yep.
and it's just going to
This
keep
is
getting
where-
worse, and we
This
don't
is where I
care.
get to go back to my white people rant. It's Native American Heritage Month. Listen, I get to do this. I'm gonna spare you guys. Yeah, no, you guys, and I do say you guys because we weren't doing this shit. We
I
didn't have a
agree.
carbon footprint. It wasn't a thing for us. Yeah, no, it's I part of me is there's I don't know. I do think we're lost, but I don't want to think we're lost because it's cataclysmic if we are lost. I'm hoping that we figure some other way forward to fix this.
I mean, the way I think about it is this is what naturally happens. Like, it's gonna happen. It was gonna happen eventually. Like, there are great cataclysms, like, that happens on Earth. Great cataclysms that wipe out all kinds of species, and then we kind of restart a little bit, and then we have another great cataclysm. They're just usually more spread out, and we're just
Right.
accelerating it.
As opposed to every other.
But why does that
every
have to
other
happen in
province.
our lifetime?
Right? Oh my god.
Man, I just want to push it off to
generation.
one more generation. That's all we needed.
Let's just have our kids deal with this shit.
Yes.
Although we're not having kids, that's like the big thing. Is there was a piece in like the New York Times, or it was like somebody was like, it was the quiet pain of not having grandchildren, or something like that. The quiet suffering of not having grandchildren. It was complaining about how millennials and older Gen Z aren't having children, and it's like, guys, why do you think that is? Let's be so
Literally.
real right now. SD, are you really telling me? Like, look in the goddamn mirror before you start bitching about not having grandchildren.
There are so many reasons I don't want to have kids. Like, so many.
It's because we stopped trapping women in hateful marriages.
Exactly.
With their husbands. And that is the official position of the Vice President of the United States.
Yes. I want to see. I remember he said something like that. Hold on.
God, I hate that guy.
Yeah, I mean, his whole shtick and the people around him is like bringing back Christian nationalism to like encourage people to have to stay home and like keeping women in the house. I don't know. It goes beyond the cats and dogs comment, or not the cats and dogs comment. That was a whole other horrible conspiracy theory. But the childless cat ladies comment that he makes, like, there's a whole ideology around this.
So one of his quotes, which is deeply disturbing, "Our people aren't having enough children to replace themselves. That should bother us." Which kind of makes my stomach turn. It's just obvious what he's saying, and it's gross.
Yeah, I mean, Elon Musk has been talking about this for like years too. About like birth rate collapse.
Mm-hmm.
Which is funny because a lot of other countries are like having this problem be more extreme, like their average age is increasing.
Mm-hmm.
And the U.S. has actually largely been able to avoid this, and it's because we have so many immigrants
Yeah.
that can come in and like replace the labor force that our growing elderly population can't do anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But now the plan is just deport all those people.
Yeah, see, because again, did you hear that little part? Our children. They mean white
Exactly.
They mean white babies.
Yeah.
They mean white children.
Yeah.
They don't want me procreating. They don't
Yeah.
want,
No, they want
I
white
can pass for
babies.
white, but it was so fun going up, where we all attended college, is that, the white supremacists up there could sniff out that I wasn't white so fast. And that solved
Literally.
all of my my identity issues. I got shut down so quick when I was like, these people can tell I'm not white by looking at me, and that's so crazy. Because sometimes I get real pale because I didn't go outside a lot as a kid because I was depressed. But they can tell, and that was just like, oh, I guess I really. There goes my identity crisis. Hello, racism again. Doing that more. Love that for me. Don't know which one is worse. But yeah, no, these people don't want. I mean, they're gonna go. I wouldn't be surprised if in they've mentioned, the Supreme Court has mentioned potentially looking at cases that have enshrined the right to interracial marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And my God, Clarence Thomas somehow forgot. That's the only reason why he's married to his wife. Yeah, things don't look great for your boy here. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, of the three of us, like, Slade's gonna do all right.
I'll be fine.
Slade, if Slade,
I'll be
trims
killing
his
it.
beard, he'll
Literally.
Slade can pass his year as a good old white boy. No offense.
I'm gonna get a military haircut, but like high and tight,
Yes.
blend right in.
You'll be
Yeah.
set.
You get some
Set for
camo
life.
on, and you're good. You're good. Emma's gonna have a little bit of a harder time.
I'll be fine, because the only like real issue I would have is the like birth control and abortion thing, and that's not a problem for me right now, so that's fine.
Right. You just gotta stay in the house and you'll be fine.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
That's all I do. I don't date people. I'm single, and I'll be single for a while, so I'm fine. Staying
Right.
single for the next 4 years at least.
Leading by example.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Celibate for safety.
Have you guys seen
However,
that movement going around? What's it called? The like I'm forgetting the name of it. But like some movement to have like women like not have sex for the next like 4 years and protest.
I support that. Don't listen. If you're out there and you're even thinking about doing a guy, and do not sleep with a guy who voted to take away your rights. Like, don't do that.
Duh.
Don't that. You'd be surprised at how many people do that, and you wouldn't be surprised. You know that just as well as anybody else. But it does happen. There are plenty of women who, and this is the most funniest phenomenon, where you'll see women, even like who are staunchly progressive, abandon their ideals and take on whoever they're dating or their partner.
Yeah.
And it's the saddest thing. Don't do that, ladies. Stick up for yourselves.
Facts.
Don't sleep with Republicans. They're not going to treat you with respect.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. It's not worth it. They're not going to. See, now I don't know what I can and can't say here, because I was going to make a joke about. You know what? I'll let you guys fill in the blanks. Everybody else can figure it out for themselves. If you know, you know. If you don't, good luck. You'll figure it out.
Are we ready? Are we ready for another cabinet pick here?
Yes.
More?
I forgot what we were doing.
I know. I forgot. Oh, I know this one. That's coming up next. I can feel it.
Here, I'm trying to throw in a curveball here.
Yeah,
This is my nominee. This is my nominee for first person fired in the administration, Marco Rubio for Secretary of State.
See, that's who I thought was going to come up next. You tried, but
you nailed it.
Yeah, I nailed it. Like, Listen, between him and the Department of Defense, the guy who wants to reinvade Afghanistan, if you voted for Trump to want to stop war, I got some really bad news for you.
Yeah. Probably the most competent person, rather, in the whole administration so far, which is saying something. I think if there's one thing we can say about like these picks is that these are not people that are going to be good at this job.
No.
And so he may be saved just by like severe incompetency.
Mm-hmm.
Which would be the funniest way for this to go.
Yeah, but we got Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, who is probably going to get ousted by the MAGA Twitter people who are actively like swaying shit right now.
It's weird being in the trenches with those freaks. Like, you hate these guys too? That's crazy. Yeah. This is literally your fault.
Yeah, but I mean, total hawk as Secretary of State. So, what does that say about where we're at right now?
Right. I mean, one of these guys wants boots on the ground in Ukraine, so I guess that's, it's strange. It's a strange world we live in. It's clear that,
who said that?
I'm not sure if it was Rubio or if it was Department of Defense guy, Fox and Friends S.
Oh yeah, I think it was a Department of Defense guy.
Yeah,
we didn't even talk about that. Yeah, just like straight up a Fox host is going to be our Secretary of Defense.
Oh Lord.
Imagine one of us getting like called by Joe Biden and being like, I want you to serve as the Secretary of the Treasury. Can you do that for me?
This would be like Destiny getting a cabinet position.
This is Twitch streamers. Like, Chad, is this real? You're at the UN. And some guys just like, Chad, is this real? Oh my god. What a world we live in. Yeah, no, we didn't even really talk on that. That guy is just so weird. I mean, he was like, and it's funny too, because he was a host for Fox and Friends, and he was the only one that had military experience as a veteran. And by military experience, I mean he was a major in the National Guard. Which is not anywhere near running an army, let alone the world's most powerful one. Yeah, so that's going to be interesting. He also doesn't believe in germs, and allegedly does not wash his hands. Which is funny because Donald Trump is like notoriously I said homophobic, which is true, but germophobic. Germophobic. So is he not going to shake the man's hand? That's going to be so awkward in the cabinet meetings. Osama bin Laden's ghost is going to come back, and they're going to have a meeting in the Situation Room, and he's going to have to shake everybody's hand except that his own Secretary of Defense, because that guy just took a massive dump in the in the Oval Office and did not wash his hands afterwards.
What?
Yeah, sorry about that. Hey, listen, that's just what happened.
Public service announcement: everyone, please wash your hands frequently.
Yeah, please. Every time you use the bathroom, every time you shake the hands of the Secretary of Defense. So there's one last.
Gonna be like, I hope it's like a meme of like people like taking like wipes to their hands after touching him. Yeah, so I think the final of these people,
before we talk about the last two, a lot of these people, because they are Senate appointees, like they have to be confirmed by the Senate. Tulsi Gabbard is not going to pass through the Senate. I don't know. I can't imagine any scenario that she is. Because while they're all of Republicans are Trump sycophants, there's enough Republicans on the the Intelligence Committee to that immediately would be like, there's going to be classified hearings about her and her ties to Russia and Syria, of all the people to throw yourselves in with, that are going to prevent her from ever getting confirmed.
There's a few appointees here that are going to be contentious. We're kind of seeing
Department
it
of
right
Defense
now. Like if you
and-
go on Twitter,
yeah.
there's infighting already happening in this coalition.
Yeah, the
Matt
Republicans
Gates
are
was
laughing
probably
at
not
Matt
like
Gates. Yeah.
yeah. I think it's gonna be pretty hard for him to get confirmed. Allegedly, he resigned from his seat in Congress, though.
Man, he was so confident. It's funny. Donald Trump is accidentally draining this swamp in the strangest way.
He's gonna pull them all out of their seats and then fire all of them to get in our next generation of leadership.
That's right. I mean, he even took out 1/3 of Fox and Friends. Can't believe it. He's done more for this country than Joe Biden has to combat right-wing extremism. Oh my god. What a world we live in. And so for the final two appointments, well, I guess it's 2 appointments. This is a this is not something that would require the congressional approval.
This is going to be a extra governmental organization.
Right.
Our 2 leaders of the Department of Government Efficiency, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yeah, kind of funny that the Department of Government Efficiency has 2 people running it. That's like the opposite of efficient. First of all, I think it's funny that these 2 bozos have been angling hard for positions in government, and they got like, the equivalent of being handed. I don't know if any of you were any of you younger siblings to anybody, or did you have younger siblings?
I'm the oldest. I have younger
siblings, rather.
Right. Oh, we lost Slade. There he is.
He's back.
Slade is returned. He has risen again.
He is risen.
You know when like your little sibling wanted to play video games with you and you didn't want them to play, so you handed in a controller with no batteries? This is what happened to these 2 guys, and that's kind of funny. And then because Elon Musk is definitely angling for because Elon Musk could never be president of the United States, but he could be puppet president, shadow president, dark MAGA president of the United States.
Yeah, can we get that trending to make Trump upset that Elon Musk is the real president?
I feel like if we could do that in 3 weeks, Elon Musk would be gone, and Donald Trump would be calling him a little bitch on Truth Social.
Literally.
Yeah, I'm really curious how this is going to go down, because while this is like not a government position, like Elon Musk is slated to be incredibly powerful in this administration just because of his personal ties to Trump. Like he has a whole media network. Yeah. I mean, I think he shelled out more money than any individual ever has in a presidential election.
Yeah, he's bought his way in.
Yeah, and now he's in charge of slashing the government agencies that are investigating his companies and are also in charge of giving them grants. Like,
I will say it was kind of funny though, because one of the conspiracy about the election being stolen had to do with Starlink, which is a company owned by Elon Musk, and that was the point where I was like, you know what, I want to believe this simply because I hate Elon Musk. But because and longtime listeners of the podcast will know, and people that know me will know, that I have a deep disdain for Elon Musk, going back to the second he started popping up everywhere, which was like 2015. Like,
I mean, no love for this
that
guy,
man bitterly for almost a decade now.
You've just seen his power
South Africans
go up and up and up.
Yeah.
I mean, people think he's a genius, and then you see what he's actually talking about, and he has no idea. Like, he's so stupid. Like, you listen, if you know anything about the topics he's talking about, you realize what an idiot he is. and people worship him.
Yeah. No, it's pretty crazy what you can do when you have when you're the richest man on the planet and can buy influence. Yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna see extreme deregulation of our economy. Any of the trust busting that was done under Lena Khan is, that's out the window.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this is going to be one of the things that people have their biggest eye on. And I really just want to hit home that, like, these government regulations are in place to protect us from people like Elon Musk.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a saying that regulations are written in blood. And that is very much the case. And, I mean, we're already finding out the deregulations in, like, the meatpacking industry under Trump have returned disastrous results.
Yeah, I mean, these diseases we're seeing break out are directly because of the deregulation in the slaughterhouse industry that Trump did in his first term.
Upton Sinclair, of all people right now, is rolling in his grave.
Yeah.
That was not a name you were expecting to hear ever again. Anybody who passed American history in ninth grade at the high school level. But there you go. That was a deep cut. Upton Sinclair is rolling in his grave right now. All because you...
Yeah, and like even prior to this too, like the monopolization of our meat industry has been so bad. Like we're seeing, there were a couple of lawsuits against Tyson this past year, who controls an enormous amount of our chicken industry. And all that's going to get worse. I mean, all of our food, this goes into a pretty larger conversation.
I mean, I've seen it over the last several years. Just the fresh fruit and vegetables are generally disgusting from what I've seen. They just keep going down and down in quality.
Yeah.
Oh, RFK. Forgot about RFK. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Completely forgot.
Do you think that guys realize that he's like not going to get any power whatsoever?
He's going to be running
that's
the
my
FDA.
hypothesis.
And he wants to go after all of the foods Americans love, like sugary foods. And not because they're full of sugar and, corn syrup and all that, but because of, like, yellow dye number 6 and stuff like that. So we are about to enter a period of, I mean, like, oh my god, imagine taking the Diet Mountain Dew away from JD Vance. That's what RFK wants, and you're going to see a schism in this administration.
I mean, I would genuinely be okay with some of that, but, like, I don't think it's going to happen. Like, I don't think RFK is going to get anywhere near a government position.
No, listen, RFK can take my Baja Blast that I have every now and then out of my cold dead. It's the only soda I drink, and it's like once every 2 months. He can take that on my cold dead hands. I swear to God, I will die on that hill. He'll die on that hill. Somebody's gonna die on that hill. But yeah, no, because he's gonna be running the FDA now, and that is a position of power. That is what he was promised.
I don't think
it's so fun to see this open corruption.
I think as soon as Donald Trump realizes that he's gonna have to like listen to RFK every day, he's gonna be done with him.
Or maybe like the Kennedy curse will kick in and he'll slip. He'll be like running out of the House chamber after his confirmation, and he'll fall down the stairs in dramatic fashion, and that'll be the end of. It's just knowing the Kennedys; they have a tendency to do things. That was a bad joke. I apologize to any Kennedys.
No, I'm down with it. Like, CIA's ears are perking up right now.
Yeah, they're
gonna do a
trying
sequel.
to get all that done before Gabbard comes in. We're doing a sequel. Well, actually, isn't this like their third time? It's completing the trilogy.
The trilogy. Yeah, so I it's gonna be an interesting 4 years if nothing else. I don't know, like I'm kind of banking on the fact that like this is gonna be so obviously bad as soon as it starts happening that Trump's gonna go down. Like I think he's still gonna be very popular among his base no matter what he does.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, all the people that wanted him because they thought he'd be good for the economy. Like I can't imagine them sticking with this guy.
Yeah.
No. I mean, like, he can't run again unless he does something to the Constitution.
He's also going to be what, like 82 by the time his term is over.
Like, is he going to make it 4 more years? I don't think Joe Biden was going to make it 4 more years, and Joe Biden is in better health than Donald Trump is.
Yeah,
maybe not cognitively, but like physically.
It might be there cognitively too. Trump does like not sound good.
It's just oh my god,
it doesn't make any sense.
They're gonna be doing a weekend at Bernie's with Donald Trump for 4 years.
Literally.
No, they are. It's gonna be Ronald Reagan's second term all over again.
It's weird how much that happens, though. I mean, it was Ronald Reagan, and then Woodrow Wilson's wife was running the country for a little bit after his stroke. Her and her second.
There really need to be like age limits.
There needs to be age limits. Sure, there also need to be more mechanisms for like people to be. I don't know. The Democrats need to stop sucking, and we won't be in these positions anymore. How about that?
Yeah. Next election, we're running on executing the Walton family.
Yeah, we're doing hardcore labor unionizing. We are going to war with the companies. We're gonna remind them. We're gonna remind them.
Like honestly, it's what Kamala Harris should have ran on this time.
She would have won if she had.
Yeah.
Goddamn, can't have anything good because the guys who ran Obama's campaign in 2008 still think they got that magic when they clearly don't.
It's when this term starts, I think we should all make a bingo sheet and then just cross it off as we go throughout the years.
Please, yes.
Right. Yeah. You know what, guys?
And then whenever stuff gets crossed off, we'll talk about it on the episode.
That's right. We'll do this too. You guys that are listening, leave your craziest prediction of what could happen, and we'll put it on a separate bingo card, and we'll play against you. We'll play against you. You have to go outrageous, though. That's the thing. I want you to go as outrageous as you can, and I will be better at responding to the comments. Somebody asked if this was on Apple Podcasts yet, and I don't know how to do that, and I'll figure it out. But like, I forgot to respond to them because I'm so bad at this job. I'm so bad at this job.
Yeah, you can DM us on Instagram too.
Yeah, that's right. Personally, we'll respond. Somebody will. No, I'm kidding. I will respond to a DM if you send a DM to the Bias Media Company on Instagram. If you're not already following us, you can find us there. We'll talk to you. We'll chat with you. We'll talk politics. We'll talk personal stuff. Not too much personal stuff. We don't need to know everything. Trust me.
We will not be giving you our social security numbers.
I mean, I might. Depends on how much money I can get on that return. Like I love a good scam.
Somebody already has it, so
yeah, somebody has it. It's me, but it's also Vladimir Putin, who is so excited right now, guys. This has been a great week for Vladimir Putin. And that's what we need to remember. That's what this is really about at the end of the day. Putting smiles on people's faces.
All right. Anything else we want to end this on?
Well, what's the one positive for the week? We have to return to form here.
I'm reading this book. Crap, I can't remember the name.
That's a great start. We have a book club too, and I'm like, none of you have read the book yet.
I got it today.
Okay, all right.
It just came in. The Power of Now is the book.
Power of Now.
The Power of Now. I highly recommend it. It's by Eckhart Tolle. He's incredible, and it will help you kind of just not worry too much, become happy, become centered, one with the universe. It's very spiritual, but it's really great. And then he had another book that I finished a little while ago, A New World, life-changing. Highly recommend.
See, I'm a big fan of doing things later, so I'd look at that later. That's the
I also want to cover one last
okay.
big shift in leadership here. John Thune, the Senate Majority Whip for the Republicans, was elected as the majority leader in a closed ballot. MAGA's pretty mad about this. They wanted Rick Scott, who was famous for the biggest Medicare defraud in the history of the United States.
Lord.
He ran the biggest for-profit healthcare facility in the country, and he defrauded billions of dollars of Medicare. And that was who MAGA wanted.
God, I hate those guys. So what's your fun thing, Slade? What are you up to? What are you reading, watching, listening to, playing? No, you're not playing any video games? You sent us a screenshot of a game you were playing earlier today.
Yeah, I was playing Civ. Islam got to the US.
Yeah, that was a fun one. Okay, well, I got nothing either, so no,
go out, look at trees, touch grass, enjoy the world.
My entertainment this week has been watching the infighting in the Republican Party.
Yeah, that's my thing too. Also, I've been kind of like, I'm not gonna lie, I was never like really big into shooters, but I have Game Pass on Xbox, so I've been playing like, the new Black Ops, and I've never played one before, and I'm like addicted now, and I'm like, I get it. Like, I'm playing this, and I'm like, goddamn military industrial complex, you got me. It's great. It's great. It's like set in the 90s during the Gulf War. Saddam Hussein and Bill Clinton are in it, and I'm like, this is nuts. It was a great time. Anyway, that's what I've been doing. But yeah, go touch trees with their consent. Don't be weird.
Ask them for their consent first.
That's right. Don't lick the trees.
May I hug you?
They don't like that. They don't like you licking them. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. I'm tired. I'm so tired. Okay.
All right. Well,
yeah. Well, thank you guys all for listening. We appreciate all of you.
Some of you more than others.
Share with your friends. Those are the people we like the most.
That's right.
Or like people you don't like.
That's true. Listen, I ramble sometimes, and if you want people to have to subject them to that, then, send them our way.
Exactly.
All right, I want to end this with a Donald Trump quote from a few years ago.
You have to do the voice, though. You have to do the voice, though. That's
man. All right. I'll do my best. This was Donald Trump's reflection on the first time he met Elon Musk. It's a classic. When Elon Musk came to the White House asking me for help on all of his many subsidized projects, whether it's electric cars that don't drive long enough, driverless cars that crash, or rocket ships to nowhere, without which subsidies he'd be worthless, telling me how he was a big Trump fan and Republican, I could have said, drop to your knees and beg, and he would have done it. And that's what the man thought of Elon Musk upon first meeting him.
There's like a,
Yep.
Like imagine
Elon Musk.
And now that's our president and co-president.
Real quick for a second. Like, imagine being like, I want you on your knees, begging, right? And you just say that to Elon Musk, and that's just a little too kinky for me. Is all I'm saying.
He'd do it for Trump.
Yeah, he would. Anyway, I've made myself deeply uncomfortable. I'm sorry.
Along with many of the listeners, I'm sure.
Some of them are gonna like that. Some of them are gonna
Some
like
of them
that.
are going to enjoy it a little too much.
So, in Annabelle's gonna kill me for that. She's very possessive. I am
Hey,
an
we're an hour and
object.
15 minutes in.
All right. I know we've been having a good time. Nobody's gonna stick around that long, and if you have, thank you. Appreciate that. We love you guys. Thank you for listening. Have a good night.
See you next week.
See you next
Bye.
week.
Bye.